This is the Dumpster Fire Project.
Welcome back to the Dumpster Fire Project. We're getting back to our roots today. We haven't done this in a while, have we, Eric?
No, we have not, and I'm pretty excited because a lot of times we don't get to talk as much as we want to. Now we do.
Right? Yeah. Oh, man. This is going to go downhill fast. We're really getting back to our name, the Dumpster Fire Project.
Absolutely. Today is the day. Well, I think that's what we talked about, too. We've done a lot of good guests, and that's been fun. We're going to keep doing it. But we wanted to stay true to our roots. We started this podcast because we want to share our story, let you know where we're at. We realize it's been a while since we gave an update. I got a lot of stuff to talk about. I know you had some exciting stuff going on. So I think it's going to be fun to kind of go over the stuff and vent a little bit because we've had some losses too. So don't worry.
Yeah.
Definitely going to be talking about that.
Yeah. So we'll start with me. Big win.
Of course, we always start with you, Murray.
Yeah, sorry. Was that selfish?
That's fine. Go ahead.
Would you like to go
start
first?
with you today. No, please go ahead.
Okay. So I've got my second app up and running for beta testing. That's a big win. Actually went through a couple different versions of testing. It's getting close, ready to launch. So that's a win. A loss is that the developer got it caught up in one of his upgrades. So it's sitting out there waiting for that to go through. It has nothing to do with my app personally. It's just something that he's had to do on his system, and it ties to some of the major platforms out there. So just a simple upgrade, but it's one of those things where I got into this so I'd be a little less dependent on others, but here I am still dependent on someone, which, I mean, hey, that's business. I specifically got into this knowing that I didn't want to do that so I could focus on the business side. So I'm okay with that. It's just a little bit of a setback, but so it's win, loss, but I'm going to get back to a win because an interesting part of this is that my customers are actually coming to me and asking me for updates and when it's coming. So they're keeping me accountable, which is awesome because two things. It's telling me that, number one, I'm actually helping somebody. Like there's a need out there and they want this. And number two, I found a niche that I'm assuming there's others out there just like them. So I'll be able to take this and even help more people once we get through this testing. And so there's a lot of win-loss wins going on in my world right now. What about you?
Well, before we get to me, since you had to go first.
Okay.
I got a couple questions for you. You said customers are getting with you on updates. So the last time I think we did an update about your business, I think the customer level was pretty low. So you're doing good. You're selling some of this stuff now. Yeah.
And it's still a small market. That's where I want to be, especially just coming out with something new. But once we get more feedback and get some really good input and figure out exactly what the needs are, maybe even build out a couple more features. Where the industry I'm working in, there's MVP, which is minimally viable product. So that's all I've built right now is just get them something that they can work. And I'm taking a wish list so that I can build upon that afterward. It's
minimally
really
viable product, like MVP. Yeah. That doesn't sound good. That sounds like something bad.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's correct. Again, I'm slightly new to this, but it basically means just build the bare minimum, whatever they need. Kind of the 80-20 rule is like, okay, I've captured most of what you need by focusing on, this just little section of it. And then there's always.
So are you telling me that when we were kids playing baseball and we gave you the MVP award for helping us win that tournament in Frankenmuth that we really didn't need you? That was the wrong one.
No, I wouldn't say that. You still needed that winning RBI that I hit.
And you pitched. Don't forget about that. Yeah, that's a win. Yeah, I don't care awesome. how long ago that was.
Yeah,
it'll never be forgotten.
I think that was the only trophy I kept.
Yeah, that was hard earned. That's the first time I drank, and we were only like 9 years old.
Okay. Oh boy,
just kidding.
And we're already off the rails
a little bit. Yes, we are. Well, that's what this episode's all about.
Right.
Well, that's good because I know last time we talked, there was some frustration that you had about getting some of these products moved. So it's good to hear that you're getting some movement. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit with my stuff too. Any thoughts you want to share on how you were able to make the sales?
Again, just listen to them. and maybe I'm glad you brought that up. This is something I didn't touch on, but I had another app, and it was really a struggle to where I was listening to the customer, but at some point, just based on my experience in other areas and my gut feel, it felt like they were being too specific and that it wasn't really catering to the general public. So with this one, I got a couple different customers' input, and then we built it out, sent them screen. I took a more smaller stepped approach and kept them in the loop the entire time. And I did more than just, one or two. I did, a good handful and made sure everything that lined up, that's what I was actually putting into it. And then explain to them up front, there's a wish list. Like I'll put this on it, but what do you need just to get by for starters? So that was a really good eye-opening thing that I learned through the first one that I applied in the second app.
Were these what you call your cold contacts, warm contacts? Did they find your website? How did you get approached on from this new wave of customers? Or did you just kind of call them up and do a meeting?
No, that's
I'm asking because I'm going to talk about the same topic, and I'm curious because we talked about this a little bit, but I don't know. You don't know exactly what I did. I don't know what you did. So let's share.
Yeah,
I'll show you mine. Show me yours. Okay, so you go first this time.
Okay. Yeah, I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the two that are really interested were cold contacts, and I had one that was, I wouldn't call it a warm contact, but the one that reached out to me has probably been the one that's been a little more flaky. So it's interesting that the cold ones, they just saw it and jumped on it, and a huge shout out to them because they took a big leap of faith. They're like, I don't know this guy. I don't know his business. I mean, I had the website link there so they could go look and see that I'm the real deal. Maybe they did a Google search and found the podcast, but whatever it was, I mean, they took that leap too.
That's probably why you don't have any more customers, by the way. So
yeah.
You probably did find the podcast.
No, we're getting there. We've gotten some good feedback.
Yes,
but yeah,
we're getting there.
So there's a couple that have just been really positive, and they're keeping me accountable, which is great because right now I need that drive. And that's one thing I'm getting into after, working on a second one, and you keep hitting those walls, and it definitely wears on you after enough years. And I just keep showing up and keep pushing what everyone says to do. And, there's definitely, I cherish the good days a lot more right now.
Yeah. Well, I just thought about this. We should have mentioned this at the start of the podcast, but here we are. We're recording this episode on August 24th, 2020. And I believe our first episode we recorded in February, launched early March. So we're about 6 months in to doing this. And it's crazy to think how far we've come, the guests that we've had on here. And it's been a while since we did an update on our businesses. So it's weird and exciting at the same time to just talk about where we've been. I can't believe that we've been doing this for 6 months, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And the craziest part is that almost the entire time we did it was during the pandemic.
Yep.
I'm sure that's played a huge role in both of our businesses and just even the podcast. Yeah. I hear some of my friends are like, yeah, I would love to listen to it, but I'm not driving to work right now. Like, I don't have that 30 minutes or an hour to listen to it. They're like, I promise I'll get to it. Or they'll listen to a couple, but they're just not caught up because the world's different right now. So we're rolling with those punches, but anyone who's been out there listening, during this crazy year, we appreciate it.
Yeah, I do too. This has been really fun. We're putting this out there on social media. If this is the first time that you're watching the podcast on YouTube or listening, since we have it on YouTube now, go back and check out the early episodes, because what we're going to talk about in this episode, you will see how it relates to what we talked about in March. And like our first 2 episodes before COVID hit, the excitement, I had all kinds of stuff lined up that vaporized. Murray had a lot of stuff going on. We've had to pivot, adjust, and I'm actually coming out now 6 months into it thinking that it was a blessing, because there's been a lot of opportunity created that wouldn't have been there had we not gone through all the crazy stuff that we did. So I guess that leaves it to me to let you guys know where I'm at. So if you've been following the podcast, or if this is the first time that you're watching or listening, you'll know that I'm an attorney. I've spent about 8 years as a state prosecutor. I loved doing it, but it was an incredibly stressful job. Went through severe burnout. And even still to this day, like every day I still look back and realize how bad it was. And I didn't realize it at the time. And I didn't realize it a year ago. I'm starting to realize it now. And which is part of the reason why I'm doing my side hustle, because even though I consider myself pretty successful as an attorney and a good trial attorney, it's not what I want to do long term. I have a really good job now. I got away from prosecution and I'm kind of doing like a little mixed bag, kind of a general practice type thing for a government organization. Stress levels are a lot lower. But looking back through what I went through and looking to the future and the guests that we have on here, I'm going to talk a lot about our guests last week, which you need to watch that episode. It's amazing. Azure O'Neill with Overland Expo. Go back, watch, listen to last week's episode, because that's given me a lot of inspiration, what I'm going to talk about here in a second. But anyway, my side hustle was law enforcement training for prosecutors, attorneys, maybe HR. I want to kind of concentrate on what I know, what I'm passionate about. Attorneys, law enforcement, that's what I've done as a prosecutor. That's where my heart is. That's what I want to do. So that's my side hustle. That's my business. But it's kind of split into two things. I got the prosecutor, attorney avenue of doing training and stuff for them. And then I have law enforcement. Well, we all watch the TV. We know what's going on in the world today. And with law enforcement, there is calls for reform. They need training. I'm not going to get into any political stuff on our podcast because that's not what this is about. But obviously, I am very pro law enforcement, and I don't think that the issue is defund the police or all this other nonsense. We need to provide proper training. You take a 24-year-old kid with a high school education and you expect him to know constitutional law that I spent 3 years in law school learning. It's not realistic. So I thought this was a good opportunity for me to give my value to the law enforcement community and give them proper training, not only for the officers, but for the communities that they serve, to make sure everyone's rights are preserved and make sure that they're doing their job correctly. So that's my business. And that's what I decided to kind of pivot to, because when I talk about losses, I had a lot of stuff going on with prosecutor training before COVID hit. All the conferences, everything's gone. Even stuff in 2021, there's not going to be any in-person conferences. I tried to pivot to virtual. Little bit of success. I put on a free webinar. I was able to attract about 10, 15 people, which was good. I really appreciated having those folks there, but I was hoping to get a little bit more. I tried to fish for some follow-ups, and I'm not getting any interest in the stuff. I like the virtual idea. I'm not giving up on it. What I decided to do is right now is the time for me to do what I'm really passionate about, and that is law enforcement training. And so my loss was I haven't been able to get anything going on the prosecutor or attorney standpoint. And maybe I probably could have put a little more into it. I feel like maybe I cut it short a little early, but I also didn't want to let this opportunity pass where I feel like getting in there and providing law enforcement training, like right now, the time is right to do it. So that's what I kind of made a decision to consciously pivot to. I've been a little scared about going into the law enforcement training for a number of reasons. And we'll talk about this kind of on the way out, but the fear of the unknown, the fear of, is this going to create any conflicts? The society's view on law enforcement. Am I going to have people showing up over here protesting because I'm training law enforcement officers? Like, there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of fear, and that has prevented me from doing a lot of the law enforcement training. But I made a decision about 3 weeks ago. So I got COVID, caught it. This show's real, Murray. We got to tell everybody what's going on here. So I'm gonna tell my story. I got COVID. Luckily, here I am, alive and well. Never felt better. Still doing fine. But when I got it, I go to the doctor. I got 104-degree temperature, and it does cross your mind. It crossed my mind for a minute. Holy shit! Got 104-degree temperature. I just tested positive for COVID. I felt like crap, and you just don't know for a minute. And then you start to think, like they say, your life flashes before your eyes. I kind of got this rush of like, Jesus, is this how I'm going to go out? Luckily, I was fine. I just was a baby. I was pretty knocked out for like a day or two, and then it felt like I had a cold and had a pretty quick recovery. So I feel fortunate that I got kind of a mild case of it compared to others. But it made me think about what I'm doing, and that I don't want to, as our guest last week said, Murray, You don't want to wake up and live with regret 20 years down the road. If you settle for something and then you get down the road and you look back and say, I wish I would have taken that opportunity, that scares me more than the fear of the unknown of jumping into what we're doing. So I decided once I got back on my feet and recovered, which was about 2-3 weeks ago, that I was going to get my ass moving with the law enforcement stuff. I've spent a year planning, saving money, coming up with different ideas, writing my courses, everything. It just, the only thing I couldn't do was pick up the damn phone and make the phone calls. So I did. I made some phone calls, and I'm starting small, but for me, it feels like a big leap because I actually did it. I got about 5 meetings set up later this week. So this is kind of fascinating too. The next episode, we'll get to talk about this. It's August 24th, Monday. This will air on Thursday, the 27th. So by Thursday, all those meetings will done. I have the rest of the week later this weekend, a lot of stuff, a lot of people to talk to. I'm excited. I hope I can sell some of my courses. These are like police chiefs and, the people in charge of their training. So these are a lot of guys that I've worked with and I know too. So I kind of set up a meeting where, hey, I'm going to come in and let's talk. And I got this idea from exactly what you're talking about and some other folks that I watch YouTube videos and listen to where, hey, go have a meeting with them. Don't go in there and just start selling your stuff. See what they want, listen to them. And that's what I want to do. I want to provide the best damn training in a new kind of training that no one else is offering. So I want to go and listen and see what their needs are. And I have courses. I have a menu. Tell them, here's what I got on the menu, but I want to listen to see what they're saying and then see if we can build some stuff on it. So I'm excited. To say I'm excited will be putting it lightly, Murray. I am pumped up. I can't wait to get in and do these. I have them later this week. So I'm going to be staying up late, busting my butt trying to get stuff ready and some pitches and everything. And hopefully I can give an update on how it goes. I may fall flat on my face, but I don't care.
And when you say excited, for the listeners, Erik was doing karate moves before we started this. He was bouncing off the walls. He was so excited.
I did. This is not even alcohol. This is a LaCroix coconut flavor. It's probably why another part of the reason of why I've been so productive the last couple of weeks is I haven't drank in like 2 weeks. So yeah, it's amazing what you can get done.
Yeah. So you said something that, getting COVID and just opening your eyes. And I think everyone goes through that moment. And even if it's not necessarily a sickness, you get to that fork in the road. And you probably come across it more than once in life. And the more you come to that, you're just like, okay, like I need to change something. That really helps drive you if you pay attention to that and listen to actually what your passion is telling you. And yeah, you might be scared. I was scared too. I'm in the same boat as you. It's okay. Now it's go time with this new app. I've had people who are, friendly using it, but now it's time to put it out on the real platforms and let the world decide if they actually want to use it or not. And the scariest part for me is that even though I chose specifically not to do the coding or anything like that, there's still part of it where I have to manage getting it up on these platforms and owning that, at least still being, a very extremely small company, just using mostly contractors, but I'm responsible for some of these things in the long run. I have to be legally. So to be able to do that is, it's scary, but I know I can do it. It's just one of those things where I've never done it before. So I'm taking a little extra time, reading the fine print, figuring out what exactly I'm signing up for, what I'm on the hook for. But yeah, the fear comes in all different ways, all different shapes and forms. So even though it's not exactly like yours, where it's talking face to face with someone or trying to sell your product, there's still scary moments. But I heard a really good saying, and I really wish I could remember who said it. If you're listening to this and you said it, hey, leave a comment.
Leave a comment.
We'll give you all the
comments on the YouTube page below if you know who said this.
We'll give you all the credits. But it was something about, when you're really scared and you feel fear, you get the butterflies inside of you. The best thing you can do is get all the butterflies going in the same direction. And that's all it is. I mean, everybody said it a different way. I've just never heard it said specifically that. And I just like, oh, that's unique. Yeah. Which is another saying I've heard too, is just, because you touched on it about going in there and having your own flavor to sell. You don't want to be a copycat. You want to take everything you learn and make it your own. There's still a good base there, but if you don't have something unique to offer, then you're probably not going to sell because it's already out there.
Right. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So we said we were going to be real, Murray. We got to lay it all out there. So here's my fear. This is what I've been afraid about. This is what's been holding me back. And when I got COVID, I didn't really think I was going to die. Like I'm 37. I was pretty confident that I wasn't going to die from it, but it made me think for a minute that I actually am 37. You know, there's little aches and pains in the morning. I play on the softball team. I'm not in high school. I can't track down the fly balls like I used to. Like I'm clearly getting older, and all the crazy stuff that we did when we were kids that we survived. It's like, yep, I'm not immortal apparently, and I am going to die. And it just made me think about like you got, especially after last week's episode with Azure, you know, I don't want to look back in 20 years and say I had this amazing opportunity, the internet, Facebook ads, YouTube ads. I mean, all that stuff's going to be refined, and totally blew it because I just had a, you know, comfortable day job that, you know, I just stayed at and retired and did the normal thing. I know that that's going to be a lot of regret for me. And I decided that I just can't do that. So long term, I really want this to happen, and I got to start now. So for me, the fear that I've been kind of thinking about was, and it's probably different for everybody. Maybe you can relate to some of this, maybe not, but my fear was being not totally failing. My fear was being just mildly successful. And what I mean by that is, I go in there and I have ideas of kind of like what I need to really make this business successful. And I sell a little bit, but it's just enough to kind of keep the business going, but not enough to even remotely think about a long-term solution or quitting the day job or anything like that. But then it may start, creating conflicts because I got to take time off work to do this. And then I got to put all this effort into it. But it's really not enough to do much. And then I'm going to be stressed out and I'm going to be burnt out. And then I start thinking about a year down the road, 2 years down the road. But then if I sell it here, I got to keep it going. And I just keep getting myself stressed out in this fear of the unknown. And I've had to try to force myself to approach this like I do everything else. Preparation. I've already spent a year, my wife and I, saving money, preparing to be able to go through some rough times and looking at contingency options. Like, just because I go in and sell a course or two doesn't mean that the world's going to change tomorrow. I got to quit my job and all this stuff. Like, I don't plan on quitting the day job. I like it. It provides a nice living for my wife and I. I'm looking at this as long-term. So I've had to try to find a way to get the fear out and just take small steps and come up with a plan, preparation. So one of my quotes, I guess I'll give, is from The Art of War. I talk about it when I teach my prosecutor classes. I talk about it when I teach law enforcement officers about the importance of preparation. Preparation is the key to winning. You got to prepare. When I would do a trial, I'd be scared out of my mind. The first homicide trial I ever to do by myself, I was terrified that I was going to mess something up, screw something up. What made me confident in doing it and comfortable was the sheer amount, and probably led to my burnout. Well, it did because of staying up all night prepping, but that preparation leads to your confidence in the courtroom or whatever you're doing. So there's a saying with The Art of War: do what is great while it is small. Do what is difficult while it is easy. Right now I'm not running this big, huge business. I got my day job and I can come in here and do this stuff at night. Now's the time to prepare. Think about the contingency plans. Think about all that stuff. Prepare. I've done that. I've over-prepared at this point. Now I'm just being afraid. After COVID, after everything, this is it, Murray. I'm taking the leap, putting it all out there this week. We are starting. Any of my friends listen to this podcast, get a hold of me because we're going. It's go time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we always hold each other accountable, and I was thinking about that. We're going to come up with some fun way to do it with the listeners too. We'll probably create an accountability board and make sure every time we do just these you and I episodes, we'll specifically talk about that.
We're not going to have to take off an article of clothing every time we screw something up, are we?
No.
I like that. It could be like a cuss jar.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be able to save up enough money to buy you some new equipment. I like it, though. It's a good idea. I like it.
Yeah. I think maybe one other thing that might help you, that's at least helped me, is that mentally thinking through the worst thing that could happen. And then that way you either know how you're going to react to it, or you've already kind of worked through those emotions and they're not as scary anymore. You kind of already dealt with them, even though it wasn't reality. Like, if you really just get in a quiet spot and just think it through and step through it.
That sounds good.
And it might help you come up with new solutions as well. But at some point, maybe do that and then get yourself in a good, comfortable spot. Like, the chance of that happening are slim and none. If you look back in your history, just like you touched on, every time I was really scared to do something, in the moment, maybe the first time it was scary. But if I look back, I was like, what the heck was I afraid of? Like, that was nothing. And now I'm so comfortable doing it. It's second nature. Like, there was no reason to be afraid. And it's very hard to completely screw something up 100% in one day. I mean, can it be done? Yeah. But I mean, the likelihood of you, well, you just threw that theory out the window.
Well, I recovered. You can recover. It's doable.
But that's the whole point.
You're right. I think humans, what we do is we create prisons for ourselves because we come up with all these reasons why we can't do something. I mean, we really do. I'm doing it right now, and it's basically like I'm trying to do a jailbreak, because what happens? You work at a job that you don't see yourself doing long term, and then you get a raise, and then you buy more shit that you don't need, and then you got to get another raise so you can buy more shit that you don't need. I'm in that. I am in that cycle. I could liken it to drug addiction, to anything like that, because it's like the salary is just like they're injecting you with the salary so you can keep going. You can get that little bit better car next time, and then next year we're going to have a performance evaluation. You're going to get a raise, then you can get a better car. You just keep buying shit, and you just keep getting stuck in that cycle. And that's what I'm trying to break out of. And I'm not saying that specifically about my job, but like in general, that's kind of how we live our lives. And I'm trying to break out of it. I'm looking at long term. Where am I going to be at down the road? And if I don't start doing these steps right now, I'm going to be like the drug addict just going into work there. Give me another shot. Yeah, give me some booze. So, I'm trying to break out of that. That's the idea. And I've really believed that. Azure talked about that in the last episode. She was able to get out of it. She said she was terrified. When you pushed her on the subject, she said, once she was away, shoveling shit at the winery, she felt 10 times better than what she did, putting on events for the C-suite executives. So right now, I'm not like taking the leap and like selling the house and moving to a shanty out in the woods, although I'd love to do that. My wife would divorce me, so I can't. But what I am going to do is some small steps now, because I haven't really done much. We're just sitting here talking, and I've done a ton of planning, but I haven't done. So it's time to start doing, and I'm excited to see what happens this week. I'm not expecting to get rich or anything like that. I don't think it's going to, like, best case scenario is I'll sell enough stuff to kind of continue to keep the planning going and just tell me that it's viable, so I can kind of scale it out with other agencies. And then who knows, maybe in 2-3 years from now, it's at a spot where I can go full time. So small step. I'm not planning on any crazy stuff like quitting my job this week or any nonsense like that. I just small steps this week, but I'm really excited. It's small steps, but it's a giant leap for my business. As was it Neil Armstrong that said that, or Buzz Aldrin? Who's the first one out of the lunar lander? I forgot. You did terrible in history, Murray. Think about that answer next time.
Put me on the spot. I am horrible with history.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. That's kind of what I'm trying to do. What's that?
Well, that was Neil, right? I don't know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
so,
or Buzz. One of the two.
Once this podcast takes off, we're definitely going to have to get a proof checker, a fact checker.
Oh, yeah. The first couple episodes will be.
We'll have to go back and
bullshit test.
Fact check the first 100 episodes. It's going to be like a nonstop scroll of all.
There's no question
the
about
mistakes we made. Yeah.
Yes.
So, I think one thing I've done, because I definitely ran into that, and for the listeners out there, sometimes when Erik and I are going back and forth, I feel like I'm giving Erik advice. And the only reason sometimes I do that is because, if you remember, if you go back to the first few episodes, no, not that. It's because I'm 6 to 12 months ahead of where you are. And not saying I don't feel the same thing. Like, heads up, Erik, I'm almost a year ahead of you. I'm in the same boat. I'm feeling the same things, having the same struggles, having the same wins too. And so when the highs are high, like I said, they're great. But one thing that's helped me is I always used to, I still do. I create a list of things I need to get done. I always wake up in the morning. I find a piece of inspiration that I keep in the back of my mind. That's why I keep re-quoting these things to inspire me throughout the day. But I also create a list of what will move the needle. There's all this stuff that we're like, we got to do this, this, and this. And it's just busy work. It's noise. It doesn't actually get you anywhere. And kind of like you said, you plan. It's like, no, if I sat down and said, what will move that needle? What will get me to do it? So, but
that's good. I don't mean to interrupt you, but what you're saying is exactly right, because I've spent a lot of nights, 3-4 hours in here, like doing a ton of work that really didn't do anything for me. Just wasting time. What something I thought was important just has no, I needed to pick up the phone and make the phone call, and I was doing everything I could, pretending to be working, but not really doing anything that was helping me.
Yeah. So that was step one, but I found myself doing that exact thing. So recently what I've started doing, I used to do 3 or 4 things. It's like, what are the 3 or 4 things I can do today? Way too much. I got a day job. I got a family. I'm trying to live a little bit of life too and enjoy it. So I was like, I need one thing. There's one big thing every day that will help move that needle. Forget about the rest. Like, as long as you just show up day after day, take consistent steps, because even though we're not that far into it, if we look back at where we were, even with the podcast, we talked about it when we started, we are like night and day difference. At least I hope so. I think we are, but it's definitely.
Check out my microphone. Isn't this thing awesome? It's expensive.
I like the ham radios in the back too for decoration. There you go.
Oh yeah, those aren't just decoration. That's a lifestyle right there.
Yeah. But anyways, that's what I've done every day is what's the one thing that's going to really move that needle.
Yeah, that's good. No, and people should know too that Murray and I are best friends. We've known each other since we were little kids, and he probably shouldn't listen to anything that I say. Maybe once in a while I'll give him some good advice, but I depend on Murray's advice a lot because he's actually probably an alien and 1,000 years old. And he's very experienced, very wise. So I appreciate his advice, and I use it a lot because I said this on episode 1. I'll say it on episode 17. I don't feel comfortable at this point referring to myself as an entrepreneur. I think that'd be disingenuous for me to tell listeners on here that, hey, I'm an entrepreneur and this is how you do things, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing and I haven't been successful yet. And we don't claim to be experts. We're just trying to tell our story about what we're doing and what works and what doesn't work and just document the process. I mean, maybe in 10 years from now, we're successful. You come back and look at this and this will be gold. Or, I'll be in a ditch somewhere and you look at it and say, well, yeah, I saw that coming. Either way, it's going to be fascinating. But my point was, I'm not going to sit up here and tell you I'm an expert. I depend on Murray's advice. I do the same thing he does. I watch as many YouTube videos, read as many books, and I'm trying to learn as I go. And boys, it's going to be a learning experience this week. I have no idea what I'm going to say or do in these meetings. I'm trying to plan the best I can, but it's a little outside my wheelhouse. It'll be interesting to give an update and see how it goes when we talk about this later, Murray.
Yeah. And I mean, likewise, even though, you might be a little further behind, it doesn't mean you don't have something to provide me. You're learning different things than I am. So these conversations really help me. There's plenty to take away from me. And the biggest thing is that you've probably held me more accountable than anybody just by you starting your own company, taking actions every time you get success. We were talking about it all the day. It's almost like friendly competition. I'll get jealous when you have a win, but I'm like, I'm super happy for you too. And it's just like, man, like,
don't be jelly, Murray.
He's just going to like blow right past me and he's got it. So it's good because I'm like, okay, I got to get to work too, because we keep joking around about like just having this like farm, like doing something together when we get old. Like, what are we going to do when we retire? And, hopefully have a good, comfortable retirement. Like, we'll go and work the land and farm it or do something. I don't know. We were just
give me the hell out of the subdivision. I'll be happy. I don't care where we're at. We can go back to Columbiaville on 10 acres as far as I'm concerned.
But our last guest, she did exactly what I wanted to do. So that's why I brought up the farming thing is, man, to own a vineyard, that would be really, really cool. And so if it's a vineyard, maybe an apple orchard, I don't know, something, but that's just one of those like far off. To me, it's far off because I want to own my own, but at some point I might go work there too. So she got me a little excited with that. It's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, no, that's
something to keep in mind. It's doable.
Yeah, that was when we did that episode several weeks ago when we recorded it. I was just starting to recover from COVID. And doing that episode, I really did get really inspired, and that helped set things in motion. And I did exactly what you said, which was almost die. We can edit that out.
That was the last COVID.
Yeah, that's the last of it. It's gone. I did exactly what you said. I made a list, and I was trying to do way too much. We're doing the podcast. We're trying to put together YouTube ads. We're trying to put Facebook ads out there. We're doing TikTok, trying to get that going. And I just realized I got too many irons in the fire here, and need to slow down and focus. And I did. I made a list of, like, we're going to work on this one thing tonight. That's to the goal. Everything led to making some phone calls last week and setting up these meetings. And it's worked. So you're absolutely right. You just got to sit down, kind of plan it out, do it one step at a time. And that's worked for me so far. And hopefully it'll pay off in some sales with some of the services that I'm offering.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for you. Wish you all the best. I think, you just keep doing it too. And even though you'll experience some rejection, it does get easier just because you're going to start getting those wins. And then you're like, okay, there's people out there. And I'm still personally, I know it's going to happen. I'm waiting for the day where one of those people who just either didn't respond or whatever, no thanks, is going to come back and at some point want my product. And that's when I really feel like I will have at least made it with that app or whatever thing I'm working on at that point, to be like, okay, I did stick with it and it came back around and I found success and I did truly create something that helped people. Yeah.
How much money do you think the guy made that invented the app that makes it look like you're drinking a beer? Remember that? One of the early apps on your phone where it had a beer and you could act like you were drinking it. Imagine that guy got so much money off that. Yeah. And you're putting all this thought and effort in something.
Yeah.
Why don't you just make a beer app?
Yeah, you got to follow the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid.
That's right. Well, it's good. I know you're doing better, and I'm glad to hear too. And I think it is cool because if we were doing it by ourselves, there wouldn't be much motivation. But I really do feel like we hold each other accountable. And it's nice to, if you got something going on, you call me and tell me. If I have something going on, I text you, call you and tell you. And that makes it fun and it helps. It's like, I don't know, it's like anything else. Like when we play disc golf, I hate playing disc golf by myself. I can't get motivated. But when we go together and there's some competition, bring my A game, and it's a way more fun. So I think that helps too, that we're doing it. So maybe if you're listening and you're thinking about doing a side hustle, find, one of your friends or someone that is willing to kind of do it with you and go along and do something like Murray and I are doing, because it definitely helps for sure.
Yeah. And I even started going to meetup groups back when we could still meet in person.
Yeah.
So that's one good thing. I really relied on you and a couple other people to help through this, just hold me accountable, because it could be real easy with not being able to see people face to face and network and go out to just sit here and watch TV or do whatever. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And of course now meetup groups are having virtual meetups, but for the first few months, I had to be very careful of that. I thought that one through. Like I'm somebody who needs to go and get that motivation and feel that energy off other people. So, big thanks to you and everybody else who's out there. Definitely go out, find accountability partners some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Well, I know we want to try to keep this episode under an hour, so we're getting about at that point. To kind of wrap things up, why don't we start with you, kind of sum up what you've done and what you plan, where are you going in the future here coming up? It's been 6 months. When we do our 1 year anniversary, hopefully next March, where are you going to be at? What do you expect to have going on, and what kind of advice, kind of value can you give out there, Murray? I know you're good at it, so give us something good. No pressure. Floor is yours.
Yeah. I'm planning on having the first app out there available to the world. I've got some smaller markets, more specific. I'd like to have one that literally anyone can go and get. And I really want to have the marketing platform built behind it. That's a little bit of a newer area for me. I find it interesting. It's new, so it's refreshing to me. So I'd really like to have something available and then find a way to just market it and be able to reach out to the ends of the world, because I believe in the product so much and it's going to help people. That's what's driving my passion of trying to figure out, how do I get this opportunity in front of as many people as possible? So that's where I plan to be once we hit the 1 year anniversary. And of course, I'd like to have a couple others in the works, but I don't want to stretch myself too thin. I did that by creating a couple already. I found the one I'm most passionate about. Thankfully, it's the one that's also getting the most traction. So I'm going to stay laser focused on that.
Okay. Well, I have an idea for you. Maybe you could do an app where it makes it look like you're drinking a beer.
I heard that one's taken.
It might be. Okay. Maybe you could do a Truly's, a hard seltzer.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You? Okay. Well, that's good stuff. I think you're going to get there. I really do. I think when we do the year episode, you're going to have some, probably we'll do it on your yacht. Maybe we'll record the episode on your yacht, Lake Michigan.
I mean, so the good thing is I'm in Michigan. Winter's coming up. That's when I really get stuff done. I mean, especially the dead of winter. So that's one of those silver linings for me, at least, knowing the season's going to change and I'll get stuff done. And come March, I agree. I mean, personally, I believe in myself, but I really think like just knowing that that's the time when I focus and can push more, that by the time March comes around, I'll be ready to have a good spring and maybe take a couple of sunny days off.
Yeah, nice, for sure. Well, I think you're going to get there, and it'll be interesting to see where we're both at if I'm alive, because you never know the way that I live, getting COVID and everything.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, so I guess for me, it all starts this week. I got a big week ahead of me. I'm really excited about it. Who knows? Maybe best case scenario, I get some really good, sell some of these courses and I can really start doing it. Realistically, I'm looking at, I would like to within 2 years. And I hate and I don't recommend putting timelines on stuff because I just don't think that's the way to do it. If I got to keep pushing through on this and it takes 5 years, that's fine. I just do this as kind of a goal or a way to keep myself motivated and set realistic expectations with my wife and plan and everything about where this is going. What I'd like to do is just make that first small step this week. And then I hope that will lead to more steps and more steps and more steps. So maybe 2 years down the road, if this continues to be successful, then that's it. I'm doing tactical legal solutions full time. That's my job. I don't need to get rich off it. If I can make the same amount of money as I'm making at my day job, which is totally doable, I'll be happy. Totally happy with that. So that's my goal. It's my idea. If I could give any words of advice, just think about it. If you're like Murray and I, you're our age, are a little bit older, and you're starting to think about looking back with regret, maybe now's the time to do something. And like I said, plan. Take some time, come up with a plan. But I'm telling you, even as you're sitting down at night working after your day job and you're just writing those steps of your plan, it feels empowering just to be planning. Get it together. As you plan, as you prepare, it'll give you confidence so that you're not just like throwing darts in the dark and just jumping up and taking the leap off the cliff. It doesn't have to be taking a leap off the cliff in the deep end. You can prepare and you can plan to a certain extent to make that a calculated thing when you take the leap. So if you're watching this, if you're following us, keep joining in with us. We're really just getting started on this podcast, Murray. I feel like every week we're 17 episodes in. We are just getting started. We got a lot more. We got some really good guests planned coming up, and we're going to continue to do these because this is what it's all about, is tell our stories. So thank you, everybody, for watching our podcast. Appreciate it. I hope something that we do helps. Basically, just don't do anything that I do. Watch Murray, follow him. You'll probably be good. Am I right?
No, yeah, you're completely wrong. So, yeah, you'll get there too. I've got no doubt. That's why we've been friends. I mean, you just bring an energy and a uniqueness to everything. So, and I can tell that where you want to go, it fits you. Like if you were just going to go completely off the rails, I'd call you out on it. I mean, like you said, we've been best friends forever. So, but where you're going, it fits perfect. So it's going to be good. I can't wait to see it.
I'm joining a bowling team, Murray. We're going to go tour Istanbul.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Maybe
that probably would fit me.
Yeah. Maybe save that for retirement.
Yeah, no, I know this is what I want to do. I'm very passionate about it. I've spent my entire career doing this. This is what I want to do. I'm giving it everything I got. It's just like if you remember in college when I tried out as a walk-on for the baseball team, I knew that I had a very slim chance of actually making it, but I did not want to look back and regret saying I didn't take every opportunity to do it. And that's kind of what this is too. If I don't make it or it doesn't work out, that's fine. But I can live with that knowing that I did 100% try to do it. I have to, because I know I won't be able to live with myself if I don't try it. And I'd recommend kind of what Azure said. It's not for everybody. You have to know who you are and know what you're capable of and know what you're passionate of. And for a lot of people, working a job and retiring is great, and you're happy. And if you found the right job and it's fulfilling, that's what you should strive for. For me, I just don't think I found it yet. And I think this is my calling in life, and I have to pursue it. Got to give it a shot. And I feel like you're on the same path as me.
Yeah, just got to keep chasing that dream, even if that dream changes every so often. Just keep going after whatever's going to make you happy, because that's what's going to help you create the best and, just give back to the world and make the world a better place.
For sure. Well, if we didn't scare you away 47 minutes into this thing or wherever we're at now, please follow us. Like Murray and I said, we're really excited about this podcast. It's taken on a life of its own. We want to bring more guests, but it takes a lot of time. I spend at least 6 hours editing this stuff. We spend a lot of time prepping, calling, preparing the show. We got to track down these guests. We got to beg them to come on here. It wasn't easy to get someone like Azure O'Neill, the director of logistics at Overland Expo, to come on here. So we're not asking for money or anything like that. We're just asking you to hit that subscribe button. Yeah. We need subscribers. It'll really help us because we put a lot of money and a lot of time in the podcast. And even if it sucks, at least you got entertained for a few minutes. So do us a favor and subscribe on your podcast app. I think we're on pretty much every podcast app you can find. If you're watching this on YouTube, the subscription button's down there. I've had a lot of people ask me about that. Yes, you got to take 2 minutes to create an account on YouTube so you can subscribe. But it'll be worth it because there's a lot of other good videos out there too. So that's my sales pitch, Murray. I just want to make sure people subscribe and follow the podcast and leave us comments. I keep asking for comments. Please give it to us so we know what to talk about. Let us know what topics you want us to talk about. Do you have any ideas for guests for us to bring on here? We want to know because we're, like Murray said, we're doing this in real time, just trying to figure it out as we go. So with that said, Murray, any last words of advice?
Yeah, just keep pushing through every little thing, even if it's a little, I don't know what you want to call it, challenging, I guess is probably the right word. There's still some inspiration in that challenge. You just got to look for it. And each day, just keep showing up, push through, and you'll be able to look back on the next day and month, weeks, whatever the time frame might be, figure out what that is. Make sure to take the time to look back on that because that's going to inspire you even in those challenging times. So just, the famous Joe Dirt quote, keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. Keep on trucking. Hell yeah. Well, then you can't beat that. All right, Murray, it's been fun. Everybody, we'll see you next time on the Dumpster Fire Project. Thanks for joining us tonight.